Okay, parents, welcome to the 2015-2016 school year, and also welcome to our one-to-one learning initiative. So this presentation here is provided to give you some more details in case you were unable to attend one of the parent sessions or in case you'd like to review any of the ideas that were covered at those sessions. Let's move forward here and let's talk about what will be included in this video. First, we're going to talk briefly about why, in other words, what is the purpose of this initiative, why all of these iPads, and really what are the specific goals that we have for this. From there, we're going to get into some of the logistics. First, with Apple IDs and why we needed to go through that process and how you can help to set that up and help to really support your children with this throughout the school year. Then moving into filters so that you know what your children will and will not have access to as specifically as we can get for you. From there, we're going to move into parental support and monitoring, what you can do to help and also to keep track of what your children are doing. Then we'll talk a little bit about the agreements and protection plan, and then we'll finally wrap up here with the next steps and what you need to accomplish to ensure that you have everything ready to go and that your child has everything ready to go for the first days and beyond. Let's start off with why. When you think about the world around us, technology really is becoming just a part of everyday life in really all areas. We could talk about it from a business perspective in the way that it's affected our economy and our industries and corporations, but it also has affected people on very personal levels with personally used technology for entertainment purposes, for health purposes, and for many other things. It is natural to assume that it would also affect us in our schools, and really that's kind of the starting point, I guess you could say, of why we're looking at technology here with these iPads. The one key thing that we have to be clear about, though, is that this is not really a technology initiative, but it is a learning initiative, because the way that we are planning to use this technology and the way that it has been used in our years of pilots and our first year of full implementation last year is about learning, and it's about supporting learning and supporting really the happiness and success of our children. So it's not just about let's expose children to technology, it's more specific than that. When we think about education and the way that education has been for years and years and years, going back really forever, when we talk about best practices and really what made good education, good learning, good teaching, it really always came down to two key ideas. First, on the left, we have our content, and really having high quality content. Then on the right, having teachers that had the best methods for teaching it, and really having good teaching strategies to ensure that content was being learned. That's how schools have functioned forever, and really to this day they still do function in that manner. The way that a lot of people view technology, however, is that it's on the outside of this, and really that it takes away in a lot of instances from these best practices. What we're looking to accomplish is not having technology isolated on an island by itself, but more that we can infuse it into instruction and into learning so that it's going to enhance the process. This means in some cases helping to increase efficiency, but it also means a lot of other very specific things to education. I guess I would argue, and we could argue that in any industry, technology enables you to do things more effectively, and really in all businesses we've seen that come about, even if it is just to be more efficient in some ways. The same thing holds true for education, and that's what we're hoping to accomplish here. And the reality is that in the rest of the world, if the candidates and if the workers are only able to do what a computer has done, that's really not going to help them as much anymore, because technology has enhanced so much over time that unfortunately it is taking jobs. So for us to prepare our children for the future and really give them the best opportunity to succeed, to be happy, to be successful long term, we need to help them to develop skills that relate to that. There are 6 specific goals that we have in our district for our one-to-one learning initiative that relate to a couple main categories, and we'll get to those main categories here in a few minutes. But the 6 areas are access to content, collaboration and communication, feedback and assessment, self-directed and self-paced learning, creativity, and student engagement. And we could go through and discuss what each of these means in great depth, but for the purposes of saving time here, we'll get more to the point and save this for a separate presentation that you can see. Just to categorize them for you here to make it very clear, though, the 3 main things we're looking at are, number 1 on the top, try and provide the best opportunities for students to grow and develop their human relationships, their interpersonal relationships. This means student to student, collaboratively, and also teacher to student, how we can communicate and really work together effectively to get the support needed for learning. In the bottom left, the second category that these 6 areas focus on are future-focused skills for success. What do employers need in their employees nowadays, and also what are the skills that are going to be needed in the future moving forward? Things like rote memorization aren't quite as important anymore, but critical thinking and problem solving are essential, as are some of those communicative skills that were discussed in the first area. And then finally, we also need to focus on best practices for learning. And this doesn't mean that all of our curriculum has changed or curricula has changed. It's really more about how can we best lead instruction and best develop instructional activities that are going to lead to high-level learning in all of those areas too. So it's about infusing technology into our classroom to meet all of these needs and all of these goals with the same amount of time that we've always had before. So it's a unique challenge, but it's one that we're very prepared for because of this technology, and it's one that we're very excited to be able to really embark upon further with more children being exposed to these types of practices. One of the things that we are well aware of is that this is a pretty big change for you. For many parents, the norm is we have our children come home, they pull out their notebooks, and then we can see all of the work that they're working on. In reality, this should make it a little bit easier on you in a lot of ways because they will have a lot greater access to their work on their devices, and also you can have some greater access too, using your home computers and not even needing to have their individual device. So we will be providing further trainings on some of the key apps and key practices that will be used as the year progresses. On the left is something called Shobi. The middle is Blended Schools, which is an online they call it a learning management system, but essentially it has classroom activities, worksheets, and things along those lines. And then the bottom right is Notability, which is the note-taking app that the students will use, and really how they'll coordinate folders and binders of their electronic work. To help to keep you in the loop, one of the things that we want to do this year as effectively as we can really early on is give you a lot of support. So student iPad trainings, which will occur in the first few weeks of school, we will have videos from those that we will send home, and we'll also have the students as a part of their activities of their trainings share out with you what they're doing. Open house at the various buildings. We will also cover some things related to this to provide you with more details, and then we also provide videos online related to what we're covering in our student training. So we're hoping to keep you in the loop as much as we possibly can. If you have a request for anything that you see the students are doing that you need help with, please feel free to let us know. We'd really like to keep you as involved in this process as we can, because we know, and research supports, that parents being involved in their children's education is really extremely important to them being as successful as they possibly can be. So let's now talk about some of the logistics with this initiative. First, Apple IDs. This is a process that we know is not your favorite part, and we can assure you it's not our favorite part either, but it is an essential step in the process right now. So when you think about iPads and mobile devices, they use apps, which are essentially programs like you would see on a traditional computer. In order for them to get these apps, there are some things that need to be done. And what we've been doing here is trying to facilitate the process for you to go through and sign up an Apple ID for your children. We're going with a parent supported Apple ID route for multiple reasons. Most importantly, we feel like that's an appropriate way for you to be involved and to know what's going on with your children's ID, as well as the fact that Apple requires it for all students that are under 13. So that's why we've begun to do this process and trying to help you get set up with it early. When you think about apps, the way that children typically would get apps on, let's say you have a home iPad or iPhone or iPod, is they would go to the App Store with their Apple ID and just download whatever they find and whatever they would like. The way that it will work this year is that we will actually have our own App Store. It will be this little icon here in the bottom left called Self-Service. Children will be able to go there to get apps. However, they still do need to have an Apple ID for the process to work as of right now. The process probably will change in the future, but for now, this is still how we need to go about doing this. One of the things that we do want to make clear, though, however, as you do work through the process, and we do have details on this website to explain to you how to do this as well in a separate video, but we want to make sure that the children will have access to their password. That is 100% essential. And we also want to make sure they have the ability to change their password if needed. We had some instances last year, and when I say some, it's really many, in which children needed to change their password, but they did not have access because the parents were the only ones who knew the security questions and also were able to receive the emails. So please make sure that the children do have access to this. It will be important for them to be able to navigate through this on their own to ensure they don't get stuck at any point in time during the year. Now let's talk about filters here for a few minutes. When you think about having a device, it is scary because the children have their own device. They can get onto a lot of different things, and I can understand, and we all can understand why that could cause some anxiety. But let's talk about what the filters are that we have available. First, given that there is no app store for the children to access, we don't have to worry about them downloading inappropriate or really game-based apps. That's something that was a little bit more of a concern in the past. We've made some changes this year that is no longer an issue. Second, anywhere that these children get onto the internet and use wireless, they're always going to be filtered using the Upper St. Clair School District online filtering, so in web filtering. So you don't have to worry that they're going to get on your home network, then they'll have unlimited access to anything. That's a very important thing to understand. Given all of this, none of these apps that you may be concerned with that are social media related will be accessible. They won't be able to download the app, and even if they went to a website, they wouldn't be able to use it because we do have those blocked. The two major concerns that we presented last year to parents, and the things that we wanted parents to be very vigilant on, were Google and YouTube. Now let's start at the bottom with YouTube, because we are going to be making changes during the school year within about a month that will make it so that we have much more significant restrictions on YouTube. This was an area of feedback that we received last year from both teachers and parents, that more restrictions were needed. And unfortunately, at the time, we didn't really have the ability to effectively really limit this. However, as of August 5th, YouTube and Google came out with a new update that made it so that we could limit this. We're in the process of implementing and training teachers on how this will work, so this will be much more restricted in the future. The real quick rundown of what that means: there will be two different ways that children can see videos, or two different types of videos that children can see. Ones that have been YouTube EDU approved, so things like Khan Academy will automatically be approved, and then beyond that, teachers will be able to request to have videos approved for students to watch on their own iPads. So important for you to be aware of what that will look like. So that is a very positive change for us this year. Google, however, as you know, Google Images, Google Search, those things can be done, and while we will have Safe Search as our norm, and while we still will have websites filtered, there will be times where things show up there that really aren't ideal. So please be vigilant in watching that. But like we said, we do have a filter. The filter is a very solid filter, but it is definitely not a perfect algorithm, and there is no such thing as a perfect algorithm for this. So please do monitor that. Now, on this idea of monitoring, how can you monitor? With the browsers that children use to access the internet, here are two main ones. In the top left we have Safari, and in the bottom right we have Chrome. The icons change a lot, so they may be different as we get into the school year. But let's talk about Safari, which is the most commonly used one. Any of these internet browsers, typically at least, will have some sort of a search history that you can find. In Safari, if you click on the bookmarks icon, which is highlighted there, and then you move down here and you tap on history, you will be able to see a whole history of the different websites that have been searched. Now, it is important to recognize that you can clear this, but the one thing that I've always said is that if you have a cleared history, that's a sign of guilt, so they're just admitting guilt. The other thing that you can do as well, up in the top right here, is you can go to the plus, open up a new window, or it might actually be under bookmarks, and you can go to private browsing, which would also limit this so that you wouldn't be able to see the browsing history that they have there. So that's something to be aware of as well. With all of these, though, one thing that's important, even if the child clears their history or if they use private browsing, whatever, we still, in the Upper St. Clair School District, have reports of what they have accessed. Now, when I say reports, that means we can run a report. We don't have them sitting there waiting. If there is some sort of a concern related to this, we can run a report that will look like this. It will give us a listing of all of the different websites that were being run at a given time. But if you have any concerns, please contact your building principal, and then we can go through the steps to actually run a report to determine what was being done. Next, let's talk about insurance and student agreements. So there is going to be a packet that you will receive, and it's also linked on this website, that has a series of pages in it. Getting into pages 5 and 6, or really the third page inside if we're talking about already copied here, we have the student and parent iPad agreement, and then the iPad insurance protection plan. The student and parent iPad agreement really talks about general uses of iPads, things that are allowed, that are not allowed. Basically, what we're trying to ensure with this, just to give you the real quick summary of it, is that we are taking care of the iPad itself to keep it out of harm's way, because they can break, and they have broken, both from kids who are acting a little bit recklessly and also from some who are very responsible but made a minor slip up. So we want to make sure that we do the best we can to protect them. And the other part of this is to use them in ways that are educationally appropriate. So yes, this does have like a little bit of a cyberbullying type of concern here, where we can't be doing things that are inappropriate on that end, but it also deals with the way in which we use it in class. It is not to be used for just surfing the internet for no reason. It is to be used for educational purposes. That's the sheet on the left. On the right, we have our insurance protection plan. It is a $30 cost for the year, and that is also a $30 deductible for any future breaks. But essentially, what we have here is if there is an accidental break that occurs, we will you will have that $30 you will pay toward the damages. This does not cover anything that occurs due to theft or loss, and it does not cover if anything was broken intentionally. That's not something that we're really concerned with, the intentional breaks, but accidents do occur. We would strongly advise you to opt into this program. Last year, we had about 98% of the students who were in the agreement, and one of the things that some parents discussed was that they wanted to go on their own and try to put this on their homeowner's insurance. We had a few who tried that, and in one instance it didn't go through the way they thought it did, and then the iPad broke, and then they ended up owing well over $100 for the repair. So to play it safe, I would definitely suggest to opt in, but it is your prerogative. Now, that's the important background information. Let's talk about next steps here. So, included in the packet is a checklist that includes all of the items that you need to complete in order to be 100% ready. Some of this can be supported at school without a doubt, but there are some that you need to do on your own. So let's talk about the three different levels of this. The first is the technical setup. At the meetings, you are to get an iPad, or if you cannot attend, you're going to need to return sheets of paper that will be sent back to school, and then you'll be able to, your child will be able to pick up their iPad at school. They need to set up their iPad. The initial setup is not overly difficult, going through and selecting language and then enrolling in our program. That can be followed through with. In the packet, there are specific details about how to complete that. Second is the Apple ID, and this is the essential piece that we know is the most frustrating, but we need to get it done in order for this to work effectively. Please complete that process. In the packet, there's more information. There also is more information on the website about that. And then finally, registering with the self-service app. It is pretty self-explanatory once you click on that icon after you have the iPad started and set up. But if you need more directions, that also is included in this packet as well. Another section in here is to develop some house rules that you have related to technology use. Without a doubt, you do want to have rules on how children can use technology, and that's something that we will leave to you as parents to determine the best approach for this based upon how you handle this in your own home. However, the one thing that we are going to strongly suggest and ask you to do is to have some sort of a nighttime charging station for the iPad that is away from the student's room. It will enable us to make sure that the iPads get charged at night, because that is the number one concern that the teachers have had both in the past and in the present, is that kids will come to school without their iPads fully charged, which can be a major problem. But it also goes to the point that if you have it outside of the room, that enables the kids to separate from the iPad when it's time for them to go to bed, so you don't have to worry about that being something that they're constantly on. And to be totally honest, that's a suggestion that I would make for any device, not just an educational one. But it is a good practice overall. But consider how you would like to do that. Establish those ground rules ahead of time. One of the things that we always suggest is having a public place where you do this work on an iPad, just like we would suggest if it was paper and pencil work, so something to consider as well. And then finally, returning all of these forms back to school, and then being done with the process here. So signing off on the agreements. You can opt in or opt out of the insurance protection plan. That is your prerogative. Again, we suggest you do, but either way, we do need you and your child to sign these forms and then return them. And some final thoughts here. This whole program is about growth, and that's an important thing to understand. So it is going to change and develop over time. So we're well aware of some changes will occur, and really some changes have already occurred this year because it is a learning cycle. The three biggest changes that we've made this year, number one, starting the Apple ID process early. That was because we had a lot of concerns about that early in the year last year with just the 7th grade rollout. We wanted to try to support you ahead of time to make this a little bit less stressful time of year as much as we could, even though it was a little bit annoying. Second, with the App Store, we did limit access to apps from what we did last year. That was feedback that we received from parents and teachers, so that's a change we made. And then third, with YouTube, limiting this and having a little bit more restriction that will start after about a month of school. So these are all things that we've received as feedback, as well as the idea that parents need a little bit more support on the training end. If there's anything that you think about that would be really helpful to you in this process, please let us know. We really do want to work with you. We value your feedback, and as you've seen, we've made some pretty significant changes to what we've been doing based upon feedback that we've received from teachers, parents, students, and everybody involved in this process. So please don't hesitate to do that. So that is our video here. If you have any further questions about this, please let us know. You can email Brad Wilson, the supervisor of Customized Online Learning. That is me who is speaking here. My email is bwilson@uscsd.k12.pa.us. If you have any questions, and hopefully you'll see this to be a smooth process in the beginning, and I'm very confident that you'll find this to be a very worthwhile initiative overall for your children to support their learning, both for today and also for their happiness and success long term as future citizens of a changing world. So thank you very much for paying attention to this video here, and let us know if you have any questions.